All right, let's get into it. Today, we're diving into the creation of something you really don't see every day, a high-performance graphics card that is also, believe it or not, a piece of art. We're going to follow the entire, surprisingly complex journey of how these anime-themed waifu cards are actually made. And this quote right here, it says it all. The creative director was just bored. So let's follow that journey, sparked by that simple idea. We're going to go from a totally blank circuit board through a bunch of different specialized factories and all the way to a final product that just completely rethinks what a PC component can even look like. Every single graphics card, no matter what it looks like on the outside, starts its life right here. Its electronic soul, its brain, gets forged in an incredibly high-tech, super clean factory where robots do most of the heavy lifting with a speed and precision that is just mind-blowing. It all begins with this: racks and racks of blank, white printed circuit boards, or PCBs. Think of this as the blank canvas for a technological masterpiece. This is where a powerful piece of tech is going to be built, one tiny, tiny component at a time. The heart of this whole thing is a process called surface mount technology, or SMT. And honestly, it is an absolute marvel of automation. We're talking about a system that populates the board with thousands of tiny components, handling the most delicate parts of building the card's brain with almost zero human intervention. So how does this whole robotic ballet actually work? Well, it really boils down to four main steps. First, a machine lays down a stencil and perfectly applies solder paste. This stuff is basically a special glue that holds all those little electronic parts in place, right before they get baked onto the board for good in a huge oven. Now, right after that paste goes on, the board hits this machine, and this thing is like the ultimate quality control inspector. It's called an AOI machine, and it uses super high-res cameras to scan the board and make sure that solder paste is placed perfectly. If it's even a little bit off, the board gets flagged right then and there before any expensive parts get wasted. Okay, now for the really cool part, the pick and place machines. These are unbelievable robots that just zoom back and forth, vacuum sucking components off these big reels, and placing them onto the board with surgical precision. And we're talking a lot of components here, anywhere from 500 to over 1,500 for just one board. And, there's a very specific logic to how this is done. The order is absolutely critical. The machines always place the smallest, cheapest components first, and then work their way up to the biggest ones. The GPU itself, the most expensive and delicate part of the entire card, is placed dead last. It's all about minimizing the risk of messing up the most valuable piece. Super smart. Okay, so while all that high-tech robotic magic is happening, there's a whole other story unfolding in a totally different kind of factory. This one is much more traditional. This is where the card's metal backplate, the very canvas that will eventually hold the artwork, is being forged. What's really interesting is that they actually use two different methods here, and it all depends on the job. For the really complex or huge designs, they use a fully automated, incredibly precise laser cutter. But for simpler designs they need to make over and over again, they use a faster metal stamping process. That one involves a bit more hands-on work. It's this constant balance between precision and speed. All right, so once that metal armor is forged, it's off on another leg of its journey. This time, it's headed to a series of specialized contract factories. This is where the magic happens, where the card gets its signature, totally eye-catching artwork. And this is where things get really hands-on. We're talking about a factory that feels much more like a traditional workshop. You've got workers manually hanging each and every backplate, cleaning it with compressed air, and then spray painting it with a base primer coat before it travels down a long oven to bake. And this is such a perfect example of that blend of old-school craft and new-school tech, because after the primer, the plates are sent to a completely different high-tech facility for UV printing. A massive, specialized printer lays down the character art with ink that gets instantly cured by UV light. The result? A way higher quality finish and much, much more vibrant colors. Okay, so now all the different pieces of the puzzle start coming together. The brain, that populated PCB from the SMT line, the cooler from a different supplier, and that gorgeous, freshly printed backplate all land back at the main factory, ready for the final assembly, ready to be united by hand. You'd think, after all those robots, this part would be automated too, right?
But nope, the final assembly is surprisingly manual. You've got a whole team of skilled workers guiding each card through this meticulous, hands-on assembly line, applying thermal paste, screwing in brackets, and carefully mounting the heatsink and, of course, that signature backplate.
And the speed they work at is just wild. A single one of these lines can churn out 230 fully built graphics cards per hour. That's almost 4 cards a minute. It just shows you the incredible skill and coordination of the team on the floor. But hold on, we're not done yet. The card might be built, but it is not ready to ship. Not until it survives what is basically a trial by fire. A stress test to make sure every single one works perfectly, even under the most insane conditions. And I don't just mean they check if it turns on. No, each and every card gets plugged into a test bench and hit with something they call power virus software. This stuff is designed to push the power delivery components to their absolute maximum, way beyond any normal gaming load, just to guarantee it's perfectly stable. So if you look at the whole journey, from that first bit of solder paste to the final box, it takes about a week. Now, that's not for just one card, of course. It's because everything is run in huge, efficient batches, with different parts of the process all happening at the same time in different places before they all come together for that final push. So why? Why go through this incredibly complex process? Why coordinate all these different factories, blending high-tech robots with good old-fashioned manual work, all just to make a graphics card look different? Well, it all comes back to one person's vision. Meet Joe, Yeston's creative director. He was just fed up with how boring and samey every graphics card on the market looked. He wanted to make something new, something that people would actually have a connection with. And to do that, he worked with anime artists for more than a year and a half, just to bring one of these designs from a drawing to a real product. This whole journey, from a blank board to a piece of functional art, it just shows what's possible when industrial manufacturing meets a really clear creative vision. It proves that even the most functional bits of our tech don't have to be boring black boxes. It makes you wonder, what else is out there just waiting for its own artistic revolution?